Welcome to week 7, lesson 1. Today we're going to be looking at, again, I told you in the intro, proportions, proportional relationships. So by the end of the lesson, you'll be able to solve for a variable within a proportion. Again, I talked about this in the intro, but a proportional relationship is one where the ratios or the ratio of quantities is constant, even though the quantities themselves can change. Think of those orange juice pictures at the very beginning. The amount of orange juice definitely changes, but what also changes is the price of the orange juice. And so the price per ounce, does it stay the same? Well, we don't know in that situation, but that's what we're looking at. A proportion is an equation that states that two ratios are equal. For example, A over B equals C over D, where B cannot be 0 and D cannot be 0. Now, why can they not be 0? We're not allowed to divide by 0, so the denominators cannot be 0. We read that A is to B as C is to D. So, solving a proportion. So, in this proportion, we have 9 is to 4 as X is to 8. How do we solve that? Well, there are two division problems, basically. Fractions are division. So how do we undo division? Well, we're going to multiply both sides by 8. And what that's going to do is it's going to cancel my 8, like we've done in past weeks. So 8 times 9 gives me 72. And then divide by 4, I get my answer of 18. Okay, that was a pretty simple proportion. There are some more challenging proportions. And so we're going to look at the cross product property. And what that does is it allows us to solve a little more complex proportions. And what the cross product property says is the cross products of a proportion are equal. So again, if we have a proportion, then A times D equals B times C. You can see A and D, C and B are across from each other diagonally. And so that's what cross product is kind of showing. So here's an example just to check to make sure that that's actually true. 3/4 and 9/12. We know that those are equal because I know 9/12 reduces to 3/4, but let's see if the cross products work. So 3 times 12 and 9 times 4. Are those equal? Well, 3 times 12 is 36. 4 times 9 is 36. So in fact, they are. So we're going to use the cross product property to solve this proportion. You can see it's a little more complex. Now, when you do the cross product, make sure you remember that the numerator is held together by parentheses. They're not, we don't write them down, but they're there. They're like invisible parentheses. All right. So when we multiply, we're doing 6 times the whole quantity of X minus 2 and 8 times the whole quantity of X plus 4. So we write that down. Okay. 6 parentheses X minus 2 equals 8 parentheses X plus 4. Be sure to include those parentheses. It's the second time I've said that. Make sure that's an easy thing to forget, okay? So we distribute, we get 6x minus 12, and we distribute again, 8x plus 32, subtract my 6x's, and then subtract 32, divide by 2, I get my x equals negative 22. Now we can check. That's the nice thing about this. I can take negative 22 and put it in for x in both situations, in both ratios. So on the left, negative 22 minus 2 is negative 24 divided by 8. Negative 22 plus 4 is negative 18 divided by 6. These should give me the same numbers when I reduce them. And they do. Negative 24 divided by 8 is negative 3. Negative 18 divided by 6 is also negative 3. So it worked. Okay, and that concludes lesson 1.